We told you guys we'd be doing fewer podcasts, and that is the case eventually, but we have some news to get to.
We lied.
We lied. We will do that from time to time. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Jalen Reagor got traded on Wednesday, so we didn't want to wait another day to talk about it. And some other news, obviously, as the roster changes after the initial 53 and the Eagles kind of put together their practice squad. So we have a bunch to get to. But Rube, let's start with Jalen Reagor. It's obviously the biggest news of the day. Just an all-time bad first-round pick.
Yeah, they've had a few, and you throw them on the pile. And some of the guys you kind of just some of the first-round busts you just kind of waited and you thought, yeah, something's going to click. With Jalen Reagor, I never felt that way. Not once did I feel like he was on the brink of anything. And I don't want to sit here and beat up on Jalen Reagor all night. I think the effort was there. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad locker room guy. I don't think that was why they did this. But by the same token, I don't see him as a guy who needed a change of scenery. I just don't think he's very good. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. But I just think he's just not good. And I just think it doesn't go beyond that. I don't see him going to the Vikings or anywhere else and being a factor. So that's just me calling it like I see it. And for Howie to get a couple picks, possibly a 4, most likely a 5, is surprising. I did not expect that.
Yeah. So if you guys missed the terms of this trade, the Vikings get Jalen Reagor. The Eagles get a 7th-round pick in 2023. That's definite. And then a pick in 2024. It's a 4th-rounder that could become a 5th-rounder if, and this is in quotes here, if certain statistical marks are not met. Kind of a weird way to phrase it. Typically, a conditional pick is a lesser pick that becomes greater, not the other way around. So this is just the latest in Jalen Reagor's weird career.
It comes out the same. Yeah.
Yeah, you could call it, you could call it a 5th-rounder that becomes a 4 if he hits.
Right.
You could be optimistic here.
That was what I thought. I thought, they're so pessimistic about him hitting these that they're calling it a 4 that, becomes a 5 if he doesn't meet those criteria.
Can you remember another trade like that?
I've never heard of it. And no, I will have to ask Howie sometime, like why they phrased it like that. I'm sure there's a reason, but maybe just because it sounds like they got more back. They got a conditional 4 that becomes a 5, but you never have a conditional pick that becomes a worse pick. But I guess you do. But in any case, it's a move that I just think was so important. He was basically a wasted roster spot. He wasn't going to play behind Devontae, A.J. Brown, Zach Pascal, and Quez Watkins. We know he's not very good at returning punts. We saw that last year. You can't use him on jet sweeps. There's really he doesn't have a lot of value. There's nothing he can really do well. He did have a 73-yard touchdown on a punt return as a rookie against the Packers. But, if you look at his numbers as a first-round pick who started 24 games his first 2 seasons, there's only 3 in NFL history, or since 1970, who had fewer yards than Jalen Reagor. There's some who never played, who never signed. There's all kinds of, but for a guy that played that many games, started that many games, and was trying, he never had 60 yards in a game. Reno Mahi, Paul Turner, they had 60 yards in a game. Mac Hollins had 60 yards in a game. So his first target in the NFL was like a 53-yarder from a guy in Indy, and never made an impact again. Really.
I like that you said we're not going to pile on Jalen Reagor. Then you're like, Reno Mahe, Paul Turner.
I'm not trying to pile on. I'm just trying to put into context how unproductive he was historically.
Yeah, I think we get it.
Yeah. I know we do. I think it's important to just kind of, this wasn't a bad pick. He would have been a bad 5th-round pick.
Yeah. And the difference in the bad pick, obviously he was a one, and Arthega-Whiteside was a two, but at least when they drafted J Jaw, it was kind of with conventional knowledge. People wanted Metcalf, but I can't kill them for listening to their medical staff on that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it ended up being a terrible error. He's a very good player, and they could have had him. But this one, they had the layup. They just had the layup. Justin Jefferson was, at the very least, a very good player. Um, and he's become a star. And the Eagles went against conventional draft wisdom, and they took a guy who a lot of people thought was a second round pick in the first round, and they left the better player on the board. So
And
to me, it's way more unforgivable.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And the irony is that J. Jaw, I mean, he's not in Seattle anymore, but he goes to Seattle where Metcalf is.
I think he's back on their practice squad.
Is he on their practice squad? And yeah, and Reagor goes to Minnesota where Jefferson is. It's kind of crazy how that all
poetic.
But yeah, so the last first round pick the Eagles drafted who didn't make it to year 3 was Fireman Danny. Before that, you got to go back to the early '90s. Bernard Williams, that was different because he was an all rookie tackle in '94. Started all 16 games. He just never played again because he had a positive test and never applied for reinstatement. Played in Canada a little bit, but we're talking about, I mean, even guys like, Freddie Mitchell, even Marcus Smith made it to year 3. Jerome McDougal. I mean, there's been some terrible first round picks, but he's really up there.
Mm-hmm.
A team that's specialized, and most of them are before Howie. Going back to Kenny Jackson, he's as bad as any of them.
Yeah, and it is very similar to when we talked about the J Jaw trade. There's no pass on the draft pick being awful, but you do give him credit for recouping something for him. I mean, if you said to me they'd get at worst a 5 and 7 out of Reagor, you take that.
Yeah, and again, Howie will use that. That 5 can become part of another deal, and Howie will. I like the fact that they're cutting their losses and they're not pretending. I think you have to do that if you want to be a great team. There's a certain point you say, this just isn't working out. They're so good at the position now that they didn't have to shoehorn him in.
Well, that's the nice thing, and you've been fixated on this, the receiver
position, Dave.
But I mean, really, they went into last season. Jalen Reagor was their number 2 receiver. This year, he's expendable. So it just shows how far they've really come in a relatively short period of time here.
Yeah, I think I tweeted out in just 2 years ago, their leading receivers were, what was it? Fulgham, Deshaun, Alshon, J-Jaw, Reagor. There was somebody else in there, and Quez didn't play. He was just a raw rookie 6th-round pick. He's the only guy left from 2020, the only wide receiver left, which is crazy. And I asked Goddard about that today. I mean, the whole position has turned over since he got here, and he's in 5th year. So, I think it's important that to acknowledge how he messed up big time with both those picks, J-Jaw and Reagor and Davion. We'll get to Davion, but the key is, look, every team messes up. You suck it up and you just keep plowing away and trying to get better.
You want to get the Davion? Go there.
Yeah.
They waived Davoin Taylor on Wednesday. We'll see if he clears waivers. If he does, they have a practice squad spot open. I would think they'd want him back on that.
I think so.
He's a weird one, and obviously he was a 3rd-round pick and a late 3rd-round pick, which is
101 maybe
103. So he's, I don't know why I know that.
I don't know why I don't know that.
And there is a really big difference between the beginning of the 3rd round and the end once you get past the comp picks, like the level of talent, but still 3rd-round pick that they never really got much from. And he's such a curious case to me because he like I'm not mad. Like he was very good at the beginning of training camp. It feels like that didn't happen, but it did.
It did. And those 6 games he started last year from Tampa through the Saints game, he was pretty good. And then he got hurt his knee against the Saints, and he didn't play again the rest of the season. If I remember, he didn't go on IR immediately. You'll probably know this better than me, but he never played again.
Well, he
And
went on IR, and they kept saying, "Yeah, he's possible to come back, possible to come back." And
never,
he's walking around in the boot, and I don't think he's coming back.
yeah, yeah. So, and that was a deal where like we were in the locker room. I think we didn't see him for quite a long time. Then we saw him coming out of the building in a boot. I'm like, well, that's it for Davion. But he did play. He looked really good the first week. We were talking about him, getting some reps over
Like
Kaiser White.
you got to get him in the rotation. He was that
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
It doesn't make any sense. It should have been the opposite, Rube. He missed the second half of last season. He's already raw. We know that. You'd think it would like he would have started camp awful and gotten better.
Yeah, and the whole Raw thing. I mean, I think we can put that to rest because he's in his third year. He played 2 years at Colorado. He played a year at JUCO. I know he didn't play high school football, but this is his 6th season now where he has played full time. So I get that he was behind when he got here, but I think you lose the ability to use that as an excuse once you start playing well last year and then you regress. I think sometimes, and I don't know if this is the case, I think sometimes guys just start struggling and lose their confidence, and then it just kind of spirals and feeds on itself, and they just can't. I mean, that Miami game, it was hard to watch him.
He was awful, and it's really tough too in a way because we're telling you guys that he looks good in practice, and then you go out and see the games, and you're thinking, well, this guy stinks. But based on what we saw early in camp, man, I don't know. Like, I'd bring him back on the practice squad if he clears waivers. I think there still might be something there. Am I crazy?
No, I would too. I mean, he's still a young guy. He knows the defense. You bring him back on the practice squad, maybe remake his confidence. He doesn't have the pressure of playing. He can kind of just get it back together, running scout team. I don't know if you're going to find a better young outside linebacker or off-ball linebacker, if you want to say, on the street at this point. So I don't think you have anything to lose bringing him back. I'm going to throw out one stat here with Reagor and Davion both leaving today within a couple hours of each other. The 2020 draft becomes the Eagles' first. You probably already know this. Their first draft since 1954, in which their first and third round picks were both gone before their third season began. I could tell you the guys in 1954, but you'll give me that blank stare and just kind of like, there's Reuben being Reuben again. So I won't do it. But if anyone wants to know, they can tweet to me and ask me. But
you can send him a fax and he'll get back to you.
That's right. That's right. When I started covering the Eagles, we got roster moves by fax. I used to have a fax machine in the house.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about that. And this is not a shot here. I swear, this is not a shot. I promise it's not. When you started covering the team, what was cut down day like? Was it? I mean, because now it's such a kind of a Wild West scenario. Like cuts are leaking. Was it like basically here's the list of guys, here's our team, let's go?
No, it was wild because I mean the team was at the vet, and the vet was on public property. Unlike the NovaCare complex, we can't get into the NovaCare complex. At the vet, we would just park and stand outside the exit door, and if we saw players leaving with a duffel bag, we knew they got cut, and we'd interview them. And they would almost always stay and chat. I remember talking to Doug Peterson when he came out. But yeah, there was that one there were two entrances to the vet. There was the Phillies entrance and the Eagles entrance. But the players' parking lot was right outside the Eagles entrance. And the guys would get cut. We knew what the cut down day was. We'd get there around 10. And we'd have a notebook and start, I mean, I can't tell you how many guys we interviewed coming out that door. So it was a lot better actually back then because we could talk to them. I'll never forget talking to Bruce Walker, and he tried to come out the other door, and we saw him. We all ran over. Bruce Walker was a second-round pick, and he got cut. He got cut after his rookie training camp. It was like 93. And I just remember him saying, "No, I don't know. I don't know what I did wrong." It was just, you just feel so bad for these guys. But yeah, it was very different. It was a lot, and there was no PR overseeing everything. I mean, they were, but we were allowed legally to be there. It was public property at the vet. It was public, city owned facility, and there was no fence. There was no gate. There was just a bunch of cars and guys walking out with without their playbook.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I was expecting the opposite there.
Yeah.
That was a fun little answer for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I haven't thought about that in a while, but yeah, it was, I mean, and that parking lot is now, or that whole area is now part of the, the Phillies parking, that lot that's between Broad Street and the Philly Stadium. That's obviously where the vet was. So, yeah. Yeah. I whenever I walk past there, I look for my wallet because I left it in the vet when they tore it
That
down.
surprises me.
Got to be there somewhere. Anyway.
Anything else on Davion? I still think there's something there worth keeping him around if he clears.
I think
he has a chance to get claimed?
No.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Not if they watch that preseason game.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I would think he'll clear waivers at noon tomorrow. And I would think he'd be back on the practice squad. I mean, they invested a lot in him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing to lose by bringing him back.
Yeah, I can't remember a guy dropping off that quickly in a training camp.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I was going to say Travis Fulgham. I wasn't a training camp, but guys who drop off quickly.
It feels like that. Yeah.
When you're at that level and you don't have your confidence, it's just very hard to perform at a. I mean, because we know Davion can run. We know he's athletic. I think he's a smart kid. He knows the defense. So I just don't think it's any of those things. I think he just lost his confidence and needs to find a way to get it back.
Really strange situation.
Yeah.
The Eagles did have 2 players claimed.
Yeah.
One of them we kind of expected. The other one was a surprise.
Yeah. Josh Blackwell.
Yeah. Josh Blackwell got claimed by the Bears. Good for Josh Blackwell because he cleared waivers once already. I mean, they cut him on the cuts down to 80.
Right.
And then once Howie traded Ugo Amadi away, they had an extra roster spot, brought him back. Blackwell looked great at the one joint practice against Miami. And then he played pretty well.
He did.
That game ended up getting himself on 53-man roster.
Yeah, good for him. And so out of the 3 undrafted rookie corners that they signed, 2 are on rosters and 1 is on the Eagles practice squad. It's not bad.
Job on the Eagles roster and Goodrich on their practice squad. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
And Jack Anderson got claimed by the Giants. Not a surprise. I mean, he can play.
Yeah, he might be starting for them the way things are going with them.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. But a bunch of guys did clear waivers. We'll get to them in a second. But the Eagles claimed a player. They found their 3rd quarterback, Ian Book from New Orleans.
Yeah, mobile, runs a lot. Little guy.
6 foot, 200 pounds.
Yeah. So he's on the 53. He was claimed. No sign of Carson Strong anywhere. Has he signed to any practice squad or anything? I haven't seen his name anywhere.
I've seen, yeah.
That's just talk about mysteries. That wasn't a case of a guy declining in training camp. It was a guy disappearing in training camp. Yeah. Obviously, he cleared waivers, but yeah, Sinet's on the practice squad, so Book's ahead of him all of a sudden without knowing the offense. Good athlete. Yeah. Threw a couple picks in preseason, but who knows? I didn't see it.
Kind of like, obviously comes from Notre Dame, played a lot.
Yeah.
At Notre Dame. Every time I've seen him in the NFL, hasn't been very good.
Yeah.
But I think there might be a little something there. I don't know if he's really someone long-term that they want to develop.
Yeah, and that's what I don't get is that, I mean, to me, Carson Strong is the prototype of a young guy who you would want to develop, who's got a high ceiling. He's got a big arm. He was incredibly productive at a big, at a BCS level. I mean, his numbers were over the last 2 years or the 2 previous years were better than anybody's. And so to not even want him on the practice squad after not even playing him in the preseason, not letting him get any reps in training camp, I'm flummoxed by that. To think that Ian Book has a higher upside to them than Carson Strong, who you just gave $250,000 to. I don't get it. I just don't
Yeah,
get
I
it.
mean, but then in fairness, Ian Book was a 4th-round pick just a year ago.
Yep.
I mean, he played a ton at Notre Dame. They're winningest quarterback.
Is that right?
A 3-year starter at Notre Dame, yeah.
Who was the last Notre Dame quarterback that the Eagles had? I think I know the answer.
I don't know.
I believe it was Ron Paulus.
Okay.
Remember Ron Paulus?
No.
Yeah, he was the guy. I think he was the guy that Bino Cook said when he signed with Notre Dame, he's going to win 4 Heismans. And Bino Cook from ESPN said that kid's going to win 4 Heisman trophies. And he really had to live that down. He kind of got tagged with that. But the Eagles signed him in 2004. He was their 3rd stringer in the Super Bowl year in 2004. And was on the practice squad for a while. Was on the 53 for a while. Great kid. Did an appearance with him at
Wikipedia has him in 2000, which isn't always.
Well, he was that has him doing what in 2000?
Back up with the Eagles.
Man, I was thinking it was 2004. I could be wrong. I could easily be wrong. I know he was Donovan's backup for a couple of years. No, I guess he was not here in 2004. Yeah, that's true. Why'd you have to check my facts for once? But in any case, he's the last Notre Dame quarterback that was here. And
well, normally when people give a trivia question, they have the answer.
It wasn't a trivia question. Oh, I guess it was. No, you're right. But the answer was right. I just had the wrong year. But the question was correct. All right. Anyway, Ron Paulus. But Ron Paulus was a great kid. I
looked it up because I don't remember him, and it was because it was
one of my favorite guys.
2000, and I was young.
I was in my 13th year covering the Eagles.
Yeah, I was in 6th grade.
That's why you never helped me out that year.
Yeah, so I'll give myself a pass on not knowing Ron Paulus.
What else we got? We talked to Chauncey. Gardner Johnson.
It seems like he's going to be fun here.
Yeah.
And he's apparently made a big play in practice already. Everyone was kind of talking it up.
Yeah, everyone was trying to find out. He had a pass breakup. Everyone was trying to find out who was against. I took a cool picture of him at his presser. I thought it really kind of captured his personality. So
yeah, he seems like he'll be fun.
Show that up there. Yeah, and I liked his attitude. You know, people were like, how are you gonna learn this defense in 11 days? How are you gonna learn safety? He's like, oh, I'm a football player. I'm just go out there and play football. I'll play linebacker. I don't care.
It sounds nice, but
yeah,
it's not that easy.
No, but I just like his mentality.
I do too.
I like his attitude, and
I also liked he got a bunch of trash talk questions, and I thought he handled them really well. He just said, that's my competitiveness, and it stays on the football field, even though he's taken a shot or two from Javon Wims a couple years ago. But and it's funny, everyone who talks about it says, well, BG talks more trash. Yeah, but BG does it, and everyone on the field's laughing at the same time. Like there's like a different intent with the two brands of trash talk here.
I think that's true. Yeah, BG's just trying to distract guys by cracking them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chauncey's trying to really get. Well, either way, you're trying to get a guy off his game. So I guess it's the intense thing, just a different way of doing it. But they upgraded the secondary either way. It was fun to meet him, fun to talk to him. You can tell. I thought Slay was great. Slay was like, we asked Slay, how do you get this guy up to speed in 11, 12 days? And he said, I told him, you can come over to my house. We'll watch film together. You can come over to any of our house, and we'll just sit and watch film. He kept using the word family. I don't know what the atmosphere was like down in New Orleans, but he kept saying, man, everyone here's so nice, and you talk to anybody and they talk to you back. And like, it's just like, I feel like I'm part of a family. Maybe that's just lip service, but he seemed genuine. Seemed really happy to be here.
I finally found a topic Slay didn't want to talk about today.
Oh yeah, you did. Joint
Joint
practice.
practices.
Yeah,
He doesn't like joint practices.
he does not. Yeah, he wouldn't talk about it. That's the first.
Yeah, I think it's the first time in the 3 years he's been here he wouldn't talk about something.
We asked apparently Chauncey and Slay, they're gamers, and they sound like they never really met. They don't know each other, but they play games against each other. And he was asked who's better, and he said, "Well, we're pretty even." But I'm better at. He listed like 6 different games. He said, I'm better than him in this. I'm better than him in this. You had like 6 or 7 in a row that he's better at him. So I think he was putting a little challenge out there to Slay.
I think so. Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of cool that they sort of know each other. And
Yeah,
a lot of these guys in NFL circles, he's been around for 3 years now, played at the big time program. He made a good little dig at Howie, like a joke about Howie being a Florida guy. He said Howie's his #1 fan.
yeah, he did. He did, and it's a running joke how he loves Florida guys. I mean, it goes back to Tebow, I think.
But it's been a while though since he's really.
Yeah,
I mean, probably kind of coincides with the program not being what it was, but
yeah, and maybe him drafting better, but like Cornelius Ingram didn't exactly work out.
yeah. Want to go through the Eagles practice squad, or
Yeah,
at
let's
least
do
what
that
we
real
know
quick.
of it? We
Yeah.
have most of the names. They have one spot open on their practice squad, one spot open on their active roster too. We'll see how they use that. They have what 10 days now before the opener,
Yeah.
so they'll fill it at some point.
Yeah, and assuming it's somebody who's on the practice squad, possibly a returner, possibly Covey, it doesn't really matter. He's practicing, so there's no urgency to bring him up. I'm thinking for competitive advantage, they might wait
Are they into that?
a little bit.
All right, let's go through these names, and we'll just tell me if you're a little surprised or not that they ended up back here. The first one, Andre Sachare, who is still not practicing. He has a hamstring injury, a groin injury. He's missed a few days, but they didn't waive injure him. They
Right.
waived him regularly and let him clear in the net into the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, when he's healthy, he's a good special teamer, very good special teamer. Mm-hmm. So phone call away, not a phone call away, but just, hey, get over here away.
Yeah.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, getting him back is a decent move, I think.
Yeah.
And not surprising once they cut him.
No. And I think a lot of these guys, I would think some of these guys get offers from other places, but if the money's the same, which it's going to be, you don't want to go to a new place and try to establish yourself. I mean, the coaches know you, you're comfortable here. I think you feel like your path to the 53 is a lot easier being back here.
Yeah, unless you're someone like, this didn't happen, but if you're like Carson Strong and you're like, well, they don't value me here, I'll go somewhere else. But if these guys don't feel that way, then it makes plenty of sense. Britton Covey, and we just mentioned him. Not surprised at all he's back. I would have been shocked if he wasn't.
Yeah, same here. And I mean, he's pretty much what the practice squad was made for. Get this guy.
Even though he's 25.
Yeah, that's true. But he's 23 in football years. I had that.
True.
I had the mission at Chili's, 2-year mission.
I think he might be the guy.
The returner, punt returner?
Yeah.
It makes the most sense.
He was with basically the first punt team throughout camp. Reagor's gone.
I mean, there's Gainwell, Quez. Covey did not. I don't think he looked great. I don't think he really saw things as well as maybe he could have.
He looked smooth though. I mean,
he catches the ball
supernatural.
Yeah,
not supernatural, but very natural, I should say.
Yeah, no, I think he makes the most sense. He had 5 returns in college at Utah, 4 punts and a kick. I think he's the best option. Am I wrong?
Return touchdowns.
What did I say?
Returns.
Well, yeah, the touchdowns part goes without saying. He had 4 returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many times have you written? And I mean, I think we're all probably guilty of this. Like you're writing about a contract, and you say instead of saying 4.21 million, you say $4.21.
Yeah, never.
Never. I knew that was coming. All right. Anyway, yeah, 5 touchdowns.
Next one will make you very happy. Devin Allen.
Yeah, and I had some doubts just because he's 27.
Well, my doubts weren't on the Eagles' part. My doubts were on his part, really.
Yeah, I mean, from what he said a couple of weeks ago, I mean, he's committed to doing this. This is who he is. There's no more track meets. I mean, there's Weltklasse in Zurich next week, but they already have the hurdles field.
He's going to miss Weltklasse?
He's going to miss Weltklasse. I just like saying that.
That sounds like Rumspringa.
You don't get that in the NFL. You don't get to say Weltklasse. Yeah. But no, I mean, there's no track meets till January, so he may as well do it. I mean, you get good money on the practice squad. You're getting 11.5 is the minimum for rookies, and so you make it 200 grand that you wouldn't be making otherwise. It makes sense for him, and he started to show some flashes there at the end. So
enough to make it. It piqued all of our interests.
Yeah, no doubt. I think if he hadn't come on like that, I don't think he would have been on the practice squad. I mean, I don't think he showed anything the first couple of weeks that made you think, let's develop this guy.
And it makes sense that it took a little while, but yeah, halfway through camp, I didn't think there was anything there.
Yeah, same.
All right. Next one on the list is Deion Kane. Thought it was a nice get. They were able to get him back here because I think he can play.
Yeah, I thought they might lose him. There's not a ton of guys claimed. I never saw the complete list. Were there about 20 guys get claimed?
33.
Was it 33 this year? So about
the Jets had 7 players that they get claimed. Kind of tells you how far that roster's come.
Joe Douglas, handiwork. Yeah. I don't know. Who did you just ask me about? I'm sorry.
Deion Kane.
Deion Kane. Yeah. I was just saying. It's been a long day. Just saying, I thought they might lose him. I think he's pretty good, and
I think he'll play this year if someone gets hurt.
I would think so. I'd be fine. I'd be fine with him out there.
Of those 3 receivers we just talked about, he's the most receiver ready.
Oh yeah, by far.
I mean, the other 2 could give you something on teams, but if you're just looking for a guy to go out and run routes and catch passes, Deion Kane is way above him.
Yeah, he's a polished NFL receiver, and he's played in the league. He's not a rookie. I mean, he's 26, I believe. So he's been around. First came up in 19 or in 18 with the Colts. He's been with the Steelers. He was with the Dolphins briefly. I like him. He's a good player, and I'd be fine with him out there. I mean, Covey. I think Covey catches the ball well in the slot. He's going to be like a Greg Ward. He's not going to get you. If on 3rd and 3, he'll get you 4. On 3rd and 8, he'll get you 4. but no, he's a nice little slot receiver. But I mean, Kane is so far above those 2 guys.
Tell you what, if they ever need to play Gardner Minshew in a game, I'm bringing Deion Kane up.
Absolutely, those two really click. Yeah.
All right, next one, Kennedy Brooks, the running back, undrafted,
also known as Brooks Kennedy. It's just
Brooks Kennedy's on the roster. Kennedy Brooks is on the practice. I was a little surprised by that. I didn't see a ton from him this summer.
But you know what? I think a case like that, you're looking for legs. You're looking for running back legs. I don't think he's ever going to be on the team. I don't think he's ever going to play. I think he knows the offense. He can run scout team. He's smart. He'll be in the right place. He knows the plays, and he can learn the other team's plays, and he'll run scout team. We'll never see him. That's my guess.
Yeah, you're probably right. And we should mention they haven't signed him officially yet, but he is going to sign LaMichael Pirine, who was a draft pick a couple years ago, has played a little bit. I'm interested to see when they get him in here, and I think he has more potential to eventually land on 53 than Brooks does.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. Next one is our good buddy Noah Tongiai. He was one we thought they could lose. Yeah,
I thought so. You mentioned yesterday, I think it was correctly, that there's a little bit of a tight end shortage. I think he's got some value. I was a little surprised that he passed through.
Yeah, I think that's a good, solid move to bring him back. I think he can play Calcaterra wins that roster spot as a draft pick who came on strong, but I'm not convinced he's a better player than Tangier right now.
Well, I think he's a better receiver. I think he's more fluid, more polished.
Absolutely.
Um,
But I don't know if he's a better player.
Tangier is a better blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it depends what you're looking for. I mean, like if Goddard got hurt, you're not going to. Greg Calcaterra's not going to be a starting tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Jack Stoll, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Stoll and Calcaterra, got one of each.
Yeah, that's fair. Christian Ellis, linebacker, who missed quite a bit of time with a hamstring injury. Then today, we walk out to practice, and not only is he there, he's practicing. He's back.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's actually someone that I've heard that they like him more than people would think they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, we haven't really seen much of him. I mean, when did he get hurt? Like,
yeah, he was hurt for a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
It was a hamstring, and we know they're taking those very slowly.
Yeah. Linebacker, and you can never have enough young linebackers to just kind of keep around.
Mm-hmm. Reed Sinnett, we mentioned him already. Kind of curious that they have 4 quarterbacks on the, between the 53 and the practice squad. They ultimately have 69 spots, but he's not going to get reps, I wouldn't think. He's finally going to know what it feels like to be Carson Strong.
I don't really understand having 4 QBs in the program. I don't get it. I mean, Reed Sinnett's never going to help this team win a football game.
Might be right.
So
they brought 3 offensive linemen back.
Yeah.
Coyote Awasika, Cameron Tom, and LaRaven Clark. I'd assume if Jack Anderson cleared waivers, he would have been back, but he didn't. So those 3. I don't see it with LaRaven Clark.
Yeah.
I know he's a veteran. Maybe he can turn it on when games happen, like real games. I haven't seen it.
It's got to be good work, man. Being a veteran on the practice squad, you don't get hurt, you don't get banged up. And those guys are making, I think the minimum, if you're on the practice squad the whole year, it's like 13 something. It comes out to like $278,000.
Not a game check.
You're not getting right, but you're not getting beat up. I mean, but you're also not out of work.
Yeah.
You're not accruing a year of pension credit, so you can't get vested being on the practice squad, but you do get benefits. So it's not the worst place to be if you're LaRaven Clark.
Yeah. Cameron Tom, a little interesting. Really a center. He's been in the league for 4 years, 5 years. I think it's his 5th year. I don't know what to make of that. Jason Kelce was back at practice today, so it looks like he's on track to play the opener. You have Cam Jurgens. I guess you have 16 of these spots. You just maybe you don't read into it too much.
Something they liked about him, and that I'm not seeing, but good for him.
Yeah. Coyote Awasika.
See, we talked about burying the lead. We should have mentioned that Kelce was back.
Yeah, well, probably.
Kelsey's back.
Coyote, he didn't have a great camp, but I still think there's enough there to keep developing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you kind of knew he'd be back. I mean, I think you made the point yesterday that when he struggled, it was mainly a tackle and not a guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guard.
I think so. In a pinch, could he play right tackle? Maybe. Him at left tackle wasn't great.
Not pretty.
Yeah.
Left tackle's hard.
Yeah. Especially when you're going against good players like the Eagles have on the edge.
Yeah. You can look really bad, really fast.
Anthony Harris.
Yeah.
How about that? I mean, this guy went from starter and trench starter with the most experience in the defense to getting cut and signing to the practice squad.
Really? I can't remember a starter ever winding up on the practice squad. Like, I mean, maybe years later, but the next day. I mean, yesterday morning he was a starter and now he's on the practice squad. That's weird. He's 30. It's weird how fast it happened. I mean, I guess, you would think his agent would try to work the phones and maybe get him a job. But like the next day he's on the practice squad. It's kind of, I mean, you can still sign with another team if you're on the practice squad. You're a free agent technically. So uh, I guess I guess it's not preventing him from signing somewhere, but it's just kind of weird. I do want to mention Anthony Harris, and we've been tough on him, and he did not have a good preseason, but that dude showed me a lot, and I wrote a piece about it. And he got cut yesterday. He had an obligation to meet with a bunch of kids at a sporting goods store in Cherry Hill, and he went there, and he did the appearance, and he talked to them about the importance of facing adversity, and when things go wrong, you don't run from it. You make the best of it, and you stay positive. And he said, "Look at me. I mean, I just got cut," and so it's not. I mean, everybody's going to deal with adversity. It's how you deal with it that defines who you are. And I just thought that was such a cool thing that he did that, and kind of honored that commitment, and used getting released as an example to those kids. I mean, that's a lesson that'll stick with them all their lives.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is.
Might be kind of at his end career wise, but
I thought that was it for him, and that one really surprised me. I never thought he'd want to come back on the practice squad.
mm-hmm.
But here he is, and maybe they told him, look, we just signed a safety. We don't know if he can play safety. We don't know where he's at. He doesn't know the defense. We got another safety who's never been a player.
If they look at CJ and in 7 days they go, he's swimming. We can't have this. He's out there and he doesn't know what he's doing. You could bring up Anthony Harris for a game or two.
Game day call up.
Start him.
You could. Then he gets a game check.
Not ideal, but they have that in their back pocket if they need it.
Yeah. It would not shock me if that happened.
Yeah. And same with Matt Leo. Matt Leo is back. He's the 17th guy on the practice squad.
When the league started that international program, do you think it ever occurred to them that a team might use this as a lifetime exemption?
They should have realized the Eagles would do that.
He's 30.
He's 30. I'll give him credit. In that last preseason game, he started to make some plays.
He recovered a fumble.
He did.
He had a good rush.
They'll play him inside at times. They'll play him outside. I mean, problem is he's 30, and it's like, how long are we going to do this? But as long as he's healthy enough to practice, they'll keep him probably.
They got 2 30-year-old guys on the practice squad. No, how old's Reuben? 29?
28, I think.
Okay. So Devin Allen's he's like, man, I'm one of the young guys on the practice squad.
It's really weird. Just a few years. I mean, the practice squad rules have changed so much in the last 5 years that this wasn't happening.
No.
You didn't have. Now it's just an extension of the roster, and that's the way the Eagles view it.
Yeah, they use it really well. I mean, 5 years ago, there were 6 spots. Maybe 7 years ago, there were 6 spots, and it was very detailed. Like if you had been in the league, if you had more than 2 years pension credit, you couldn't be on it. If you had played in more than X number of games, 16 games, you couldn't be on it. And then they had 2 exemption roster spots, practice squad spots that were more unlimited. But now it's just anybody can be on the practice squad.
And now it's all the guys they cut are just on the practice squad.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not that many guys that they cut that aren't.
Yeah, you're right.
Handful. Carson Strong's one of them.
We did mention Jason Kelce back at practice, Landon Dickerson back at practice. Still no Miles Sanders. Nothing. I don't worry about it yet because they have, if he's not on the field next Wednesday, that's when the panic button gets pushed.
That's the day to look for. Yeah, that's the first day of real install for Detroit, although they might have started already. We should mention Jason Peters talking to the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's weird. Tackle. That would look really weird.
It looked weird seeing him in a Bears uniform.
Yeah. It won't. I mean, that's nothing compared to what it would look like seeing him with a star on his helmet. That would be weird.
That would be weird. Gosh, I don't think he has anything left. He did. He ended up starting.
Started 15 games last year. He came out of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But he started 15 games. They liked him in Chicago from what I talked to people out there.
Not enough to sign him. Well, he got a new GM. Yeah. But Yeah, at some point, Jason's just got to just say, you know what, that's it. Walking away.
Hey, I'll let him make that decision on his own.
I mean, I don't. It's not like I can make it for him, but
I don't think. Yeah. Jason,
I just wonder if he's
on
like.
your
Do
weekly calls with JP, you don't.
you feel like he's tarnishing his legacy a little bit?
Maybe to some people, that doesn't. I mean, he probably is to some people, not to me. I mean, he was a dominant left tackle.
Yeah, best ever. One of the best I ever saw.
Yeah, like in his prime. I don't know. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he's more likely than not, but I don't think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, I hope this isn't hurting him.
I think he only had two All Pros,
Yeah, um,
which doesn't help.
doesn't help, but there was, I guess, Joe Thomas during that era, um, and Joe Thomas will probably be right in, right? Or is Joe Thomas in or no?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
He
he'll
will.
get right in. I mean, who knows? We'll see what tackles are still. JP might play for another 5 years.
Yeah, all I know is the Eagles are so lucky. You go from Trey Thomas to Jason Peters to Jordan Mailata. Um, that's a heck of a quarter.
Joe Thomas was a six-time All-Pro, so
Yeah,
it's kind of like the same deal with Fletcher Cox playing in the era of Aaron Donald. It's like you're
right.
gonna kind of be in that person's shadow.
Yeah, it's true.
All
All
right,
right.
let's wrap this up. We've gone 45 minutes on a podcast we weren't even supposed to do. This happens all the time. If you enjoy
Oh,
Eagle Eye
one more
podcast,
thing.
no,
Apparently, a bunch of people suggested us for this Inquirer thing. About what podcast people listen to in Philly, and we just wanted to thank you guys for doing that, for your support and for listening and for writing our name in Eagle Eye for this Inquirer thing.
yeah, that was nice. You know what else you can do? You can rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching it on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. That's all we've got for you today. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye.